I solemnly swear that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Yeah, hi everybody, it's Ron here from The Truth About Addiction. Welcome to another podcast. Today we have a lovely guest, a friend of mine, Hollie. Hollie's been gracious enough to come on the show and to share her experience, strength and hope with the hope that we can help other people find recovery and find freedom from self. So Hollie, welcome to The Truth About Addiction, darling.
Thank you.
So what's the Hollie story, sweet pea?
Oh God, I'm so nervous. Okay.
Don't be.
So do I just start off with my story like when I was young
Yeah.
and stuff?
Yeah.
So I grew up, I was a only child. I had two loving parents, but I guess they grew up in a rough space. So I guess that kind of led to my childhood as well. I always felt quite alone growing up. It was always just me. When I got in trouble, I just felt so alone. I'd be locked in my room, and it was like I had no one. And so growing up, and then I always had trouble making friends, and I was really good at running, and I was really good at swimming. And then I don't know what had happened, what changed, but I moved schools and I just became really depressed. I got into this relationship with this guy, and I thought he was the love of my life, and we were going to be together forever. I guess my defects were already kicking in, and my inner addict of being really possessive and really controlling. And it was always sending pictures of girls and saying rate them out of 10. And when he'd say they're an 8, I'd be like, well, you're lying, you think they're better looking than me. And I was just always obsessed with how I looked, and I was never good enough. How can I fix me? And I guess when I started working at this new job, we broke up, and I started hanging out with these older people, and they drink, and I just felt I kind of found my place in the world. They were drinking, and then they were smoking cigarettes. I was so clueless and so unaware of even how to smoke a cigarette. I'd be bum puffing it thinking I know what I'm doing, I'm so cool. I just felt like I fitted in somewhere, and yet I still felt so alone and so uncomfortable in my own skin. And I was just trying to find my way in the world, and yet I didn't know who I was. And as soon as I found weed, I and I wasn't bum puffing it, someone actually showed me how to do it, and I was just this is it. This is how I'm going to go about life, is by using drugs. And I just became really curious. I was having trouble at school, and there was just things going on at school. People started posting stuff about me in this fucking day and age or whatever. There's a way to bully people, and that's online, and that kind of really affected me in school. And my grandparents live in the UK, and so they were like, did you want to come work in our pub, and we'll pay you, and rah, rah, rah. And I was like, fucking oath, this is my way out of here. I just want to get out of Australia. I just want to run away. And I thought that was going to solve all of my problems. And my granddad had a heart attack. Their pub closed down. Once again, I was living in the UK, in a different area, and I was alone again. And I just felt so fucking alone once again. I didn't know how to escape myself or just be with myself, So I started trying to find ways to go out, I turned 18, and I was alone on my birthday, and everyone was out at schoolies, and I was just what the fuck am I doing? I have no one, and yeah, I felt so alone. I started hitting random people up, random guys on Tinder, trying to find someone to go out with. It wasn't me trying to find someone to be with. It was just trying to find someone that I could just go clubbing with. I just wanted to get away. I hated where I was, and I started going out. And I was the quirky, weird Australia girl that came out in docks and tights, and I was rugged up, and then all these girls were in high heels, and they just looked all glamorous. And I was an outsider. In the UK, that was where I really found drugs. I was just taking pills. I thought I was having the time of my life. I ended up moving out from my grandparents, and I was living on my own. And I just remember feeling so alone, and I was pacing like this tiny little room basically that I was like living in. I was trying to find cocaine on the tables, like I was trying to lick the tables, and I was like trying to find Nurofen and alcohol so I could just die. I just wanted to die. You know, I ate this food and I was like really sick, and I remember I went to the hospital, like my friend, this girl, like I told her, and she took me to the hospital. And I remember like the next morning, they like, not even the next morning, like within a couple of hours, they were going to discharge me. And I remember like saying, I don't want to go back there. I just wanted to stay there. And they said they were going to talk to a nurse. And anyways, like long story short, they basically were like, no, you're all good to go home. And I just remember I didn't want to go back to where I was, which was just this place that like I trashed because I just wanted to die. And I had to go back there and be with myself again and like be alone. And I just felt like nobody cared about me. How could they do this to me? Like I have no one. I ended up coming back to Australia. My parents were like pushing for me to get a job because it was always like, if you just get a job, you'll be fine. Like just get employment and you'll be happy. That was kind of always the answer, was like exercise or work. I always felt like it was more than that. Like there's something wrong with me that you don't understand. Like there's something seriously wrong. And I guess like that's what the crazy thing is like for so long, I always thought there's something wrong with me. Like there has to be something wrong, was what my head always told me. Like as soon as I found NA, I was like, even if there is something wrong with me, I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
I just thought, oh, fuck it. You know what? I'll start stripping and tell my parents that I work in a bar. You know, I made up some bar that I work at. And so I started doing that. And like, once again, like I would rock up. All these girls had like the beautiful, like long lashes, knew how to do their makeup. And I was like the outsider. Like I didn't know how to do my makeup. And I was just always like this odd one out. And I never knew how to like just to fit in. Like I went back to like one of the girls' places and they invited me to come along. And I was like, me? Like, you want to hang out with me? And then we started smoking meth. I don't know what happened in that moment. Like I didn't know what I was even smoking, but I just felt so good within myself, you know, like I felt like that, like I found the fucking answer to all of my problems. And I just wanted like more and more and more. And I'd fuck up and I'd do something really fucked up and then I'd have no one and I would be alone again. And so I was like always going out. I was always in like some kind of like toxic relationship with some guy. And that's what I forgot to mention. Like ever since I was 16 and me and that guy broke up, I've been in some kind of relationship. Like I've never been on my own, like with myself, because like that was like the most scariest thing for me to be, is just with me, you know. But I would be in some toxic relationship and I would be like possessive and obsessive and controlling and like, you know, never feeling good enough and never even like happy. Like I never even wanted to be with them. I just wanted like drug. I started going out clubbing every night and like I was hanging out with these people. And then I met this girl. She was like prostituting. So I was like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that. And like I committed to doing that. And that's when things just got like really bad, I guess, you know. Like I was bouncing from Sydney to Brisbane and like I was working and like I was sex working and you know, just like a lot of like bad stuff happened. It was always because I was under the influence, like because I was like desperately like trying to numb myself with drugs. So I didn't have to feel the pain of what I was doing to myself. You know, as soon as I started like prostituting, I felt like I found the job that like I was made to do. You know, I thought like it was something I was good at. Like this is what I can do, you know. I just remember thinking back to like that person and like I was like feeling so broken, you know, like something happened with my dad, like he'd strangled me and it was just like I need to get the fuck away from them and I need to like be independent and do me to prove them wrong. And yet like that never worked out because like all I wanted was to be independent, have drugs, like have my own place, but just like the main common theme is like to have drugs, you know, like I need to have the drugs to be stable and to be independent and to like go on about my life. But that led to like being really vulnerable and doing like things that like I never pictured myself doing, because I was like always under the influence, and like I was just like so fucked that like I didn't really care what was happening to me, you know. So like I ended up losing my place, and then I was like in this toxic relationship, and like I stopped using after like he broke my nose. And I was like, nope, I'm done. Like, I'm going to get clean. Once again, it was like that pattern of like, I'm going to be independent and I'm going to prove him wrong. But as soon as I came back to Sydney, like, I went back to him, and I started smoking weed every day. And I was like, it's not a drug, you know, like I would always justify weed as like not a drug. Now I see it's like, it's clearly a drug. I would always say like weed doesn't count. Like we ended, and then I ended up in this other relationship, or when I was like homeless and I was living at his house. I just felt like so disgusting as a person. I fucking hated myself. Like I fucking hated the person I became. And like the only way to deal with that was to keep using drugs, you know, like that felt like the only solution I had was to just keep using, and like I'll deal with it later. Somehow I ended up back in Brisbane with my family, and when I came back to Brisbane, like I got clean again, and like I didn't have NA. Like I'd never heard of NA. I don't even know, like I had no idea. And I was like, once again, like alone, and I was living there, and I was terrified of like, how was I going to get a job, like a normal job, like after like what I've done as a person, after like the sex work. And the only way I felt I could just get a normal job was to like get some meth and get some like stuff for my anxiety, and then I'll be able to like get a normal job. I truly believe that. Like I truly believe that if I had my perfect amount of drugs, I'd be able to like go about and live a normal life. So I did that. I went and got drugs. I ended up hanging out with these people in Brisbane, and I started getting charges like with the police. I don't really think it matters like what I got charged. Hey, not really. No, cool. Yeah. So that's really embarrassing. So yeah, I ended up getting like these charges, and I was like hanging out with these people, and you know, I ended up homeless in that year, and I was like bumming around like Brisbane City. I was just chasing that next high. I would feel like throughout like my addiction and everything, and like even when I was younger, like I can see the patterns of how I always felt trapped. I always felt stuck. If I just got my next hit, then I'll work it out. You know, that was like what I always thought. And now I see that like I wasn't like able to take personal responsibility, and you know, I had like no lack of boundaries. I was always just vulnerable because of like the charges I had. I kind of thought, well, I wasn't really thinking. It was this guy, once again, another like toxic guy, was like, you need rehab. And like, so he was trying to save me or whatever. And so I ended up going into a detox and did like a 28-day program. Like I told my family, like I told my parents about what had happened. And they were just a bit like, whatever, because I was going into a detox and like actually going to try. They kind of like came into my life, and, you know, like just incredible things happened when I started to try and get clean. Even just when NA came into my life, you know, like even just like the meetings and stuff like that. I know it's all about NA, but like going into that rehab can save me. You know, I started seeing meetings. I was so clouded when I went in there, like that I had no idea like what the fuck was going on really. Like I had no clue. All I knew was like my life had gotten to this point, and like maybe I should try and stick around for as long as I can to clear my head and have a better life, you know, I guess. Like maybe it was like, I guess it was hope, you know, like I found hope. And I ended up staying there for 3 months, and then like I did a transition house and and like I kept doing meetings and finding friends, like true friends, like real people who like also wanted to get clean, and they also had hope. And you know, I just felt like this is something that I want to really try out. You know, like I've committed to doing all of these like fucked up things and being in all these toxic relationships. Like, what have I got to lose by like trying to stick around at something like this? I guess that's led me to where I am today, which is like 16 months clean. And like I still try and do like a meeting every day. And like I try and do, at the moment, I'm trying to do like 90 and 90 because I started like feeling like I was lacking in my program a little bit. And like today I have a normal job, and like I never fucking thought that I would have a normal job. Like it makes me want to cry because from like where I came from, how broken I felt as a person, and sex working and feeling like that was all I was good at. And even like the money, how like I get a normal pay rate, and like sometimes I hate working, like I fucking hate it. And I'm such a like agitated, angry person. But like sitting here, like talking about the story or whatever, it's like a reminder of where I've come from in terms of like that kind of work, how much can change like by just like staying in this program. Like sometimes like I want to go back to that work, of course, like, like that's obviously just my disease telling me that I don't ever want to feel like taken advantage of again, and I don't ever want to feel like vulnerable. And like if I stay like in this program, like that's never going to happen again. I'm never going to have to feel like I'm broken and like I'm vulnerable and unsafe. And like that was because I was always using drugs. Like I take drugs out of the equation, like I'm safe, I'm okay. And it's not always fucking perfect, but it's better than what it was.
Good girl. You see, because the Hollie I know, we've all got stories, but the Hollie I know is a beautiful human being who's very loving and caring and considerate and thinks more about other people than she does herself. And it's a really nice thing, because a lot of your story I don't know, but a lot of your story I do know. This part I know that is that, you've been a shining light for the last 16 months, especially for yourself.
Yeah.
Because the toxic relationships always come from, and I say it all the time, if you go to the fish market, you buy fish.
Yeah.
So, where we were getting our partners from was the fish markets, and it's because of our self-worth, thinking that we didn't deserve better.
Yeah.
Because the first relationship we have to get is with ourselves.
Mm.
And that's what I've seen you get over the last 16 months.
Yeah.
I've seen you get a relationship with yourself, and it's just so nice.
Mm.
It makes my job so worthwhile when I do a podcast with yourself or somebody else that I've seen come into the program and change so much. See, because you don't see the change like other people see it. You feel it and you sort of get it, but you don't really get it.
No.
See your mates changing, you think, well, if they're changing, I must be changing too.
Mm.
The change in you has been phenomenal, it really has. And I see you've got a little, close-knit group that you sort of hang out with, and I've got that same close-knit group. They're over 40 years clean.
Yeah, that's so nice.
And when we're still mates, 40 years down the track,
Mm.
we still call each other. If I don't speak to one of my mates for 2 or 3 years, doesn't matter.
Mm.
As soon as we turn up in the same room or somewhere, it's like, it's like we've never been separated. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I had my sponsor up here last weekend, and I haven't hung out with him for 2 years, man. It was just like two kids in a candy store.
Yeah.
We've been mates for 41 years, him and I, and he's been my spiritual advisor for 36 and a half years.
Yeah, wow.
And the friendships and the relationships and we've had disagreements.
Mm.
If you don't have disagreements, you're being a doormat.
Yeah.
You can't agree with your friends on everything. It's not real.
Mm.
But the point is that you can't hold resentments, and you can't judge that person because of and you can't even stop them from making bad decisions.
Yeah.
I've made some terrible decisions where my sponsors still put up with me and my friends.
Yeah.
And some of them have made shit decisions too, and I put up with them.
Mm.
But the thing that I had to put up with was with me. I had to put up with myself.
Yeah.
It's so funny, the quick quid. We always, we always think about the quick quid. I don't know about you, but when I made a lot of money quickly, I spent it quickly too.
Yeah.
But when I earned it, and it was like at the end of the month or at the end of the week, you look and you got some money in the bank. It's like, wow, fuck, I've got some money in the bank.
Yeah, it's hectic, hey.
It didn't matter how much money I made. I never had money at the end of the month because I stuck it up my arm or whatever,
Yeah.
But yeah, when I start to realise that I worked hard and I made good money, and when I say good money, it was just average money, but it was good money because I wasn't wasting it.
Yeah, because it was real. Because like with like money that you don't care about, like there's no, because you don't care about it, like you just want to spend it to get rid of it again,
There's no value.
It's nothing, yeah.
There's no value, I say it all the time, part of my program is pride of achievement of pride. Now, when you achieve something, you get proud of it.
Yeah.
Pride of achievement of pride, and you get proud. Like I did 40 hours a week and I fucking hated it, but I stuck to it.
Mm.
And they gave me X amount of dollars at the end of the week, and it only cost me X amount of dollars to live. So I've got something in the bank.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I remember the first few months just freaking out, thinking I got money left over.
Mm.
Like I never had money left over when I was using,
Yeah.
because every cent went on, because there was never enough.
Mm.
And I, like different times, we'd have a lot of drugs and it still wasn't enough.
Yeah, never was.
I knew it was going to run out.
Mm.
And my fear was it was always never going to be enough.
Mm.
It was funny. My first company when I got clean was called Next. What I had wasn't good enough. I always wanted Next.
Yeah.
And I closed that company about, 25 years ago now, because I realized that I was never going to have Next.
Yeah.
I was never going to be, Next was never going to be good enough,
Mm.
and now I should have a company called Thanks. But yeah, thanks,
Yeah.
But I like my company, The Truth About Addiction. I like the name of that because addiction's such a horrible thing, it just takes away from us. And your addiction, was there long before the drugs.
Mm.
And that's what a lot of people don't understand. They think, why don't you just stop? Oh my God, if it was that easy.
Mm.
If it was that easy, it would be so nice,
Mm.
Just stop, get a job, train, do this, like, man, if it was that easy, it'd be wonderful, but it's not that easy, We have a brain that talks to us and tells us bullshit that we believed for so long that we actually think it's telling us the truth.
Yeah.
And I think that's the hardest part with recovery is unlearning, not the learning. The unlearning is the hardest part. Unlearning that story that's telling you is not true.
Yeah.
And the unfounded fears. Oh, but what if I get the sack next week? Well, wait a minute. Worry about that next week.
Yeah.
You're worrying about stuff that's not even real.
Yeah, I'm full of fear all the time. I'm just a
Mm.
fearful person in general. Like,
Yeah.
fear is a natural state to be in.
Yeah, you're going to change that because that's an unfounded fear. And you got to question and say, well, what evidence do I have that that's real? None.
Yeah.
I had an old mate of mine, he's dead now. He said to me, I've never found a problem that worrying will fix. Until I do, I'll worry about it then.
Mm.
Say to me all the time, and I just think, oh, you're a silly old prick, The truth of the matter is, later on, after he'd passed away, I sort of had more thinking about it. And I thought, yeah, okay, he was right. And he was dying of cancer and he still wasn't worrying.
Yeah, wow.
I got another mate who's really sick with cancer. And he's so positive and so, because he has this program.
Mm.
And whenever I speak to him, we speak every couple of weeks, and he's in Melbourne having treatment, and he's from Brisbane. You know him probably. He's from the Brisbane Fellowship camp.
Yeah.
Lovely human being, and we've been mates for a long time since he came in. And he says to me, like, mate, I'm lucky, I'm blessed. I didn't know I was going to have another 28 years, because he's 20, whatever it is, clean.
Mm.
I never even thought I was going to get this 28, so this is all bonus.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. I do. I feel the same way. Every day is a bonus because the life I was living, I was spiritually dead. People think death has to be physical. It's not. It's the spiritual death that's worse than physical.
Mm.
My fear of relapse wasn't that I'd die. My fear of relapse was that I'd live. And then I'd have to put up with the fucking bullshit again.
Mm.
And go through that same torment every day of waking up and thinking, oh, not another day. And going to sleep that night saying, I'm not going to do the same thing tomorrow.
Mm.
And you wake up and it's like, I'm fucking.
Yeah.
It's like someone rings the bell in a fight. You got no choice. You've got to come out and start throwing punches.
Yeah.
At the end of the night, they ring the bell and you're late. And you think, oh, I'm not getting up tomorrow morning to do another round. Then ding, the bell goes again and you're up and again. I don't know if you were like me, but I never kept dope for the morning. I used it that night. My morning shot was used at 1 minute past 12.
Yeah.
It was now morning. That was my morning. My morning drug was used at 1 minute past 12. It's morning, man. Come on.
Mm.
I got you on a technicality.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what made you come into recovery? Just a complete degradation and just sick and tired of being sick and tired and not liking yourself?
In all honesty, like, I didn't come into recovery to get clean. I came into recovery to get out of like my charges, and then something maybe greater than me kicked in, or something more than myself. Like, I just I felt hope, like that was what it was. Like,
That's
and
the big one.
yeah, I never thought that was, like I lost all hope. Like I was, like I hated myself.
Yeah.
I felt like there was an answer.
I think that's the big story. I was a no-hoper. The judge told me I was a no-hoper. My old man told me I was a no-hoper. My family told me I was a no-hoper.
Mm.
Everyone told me that I was useless, worthless, and hopeless.
Yeah.
And then I found recovery, and people, the therapeutic value of one addict helping another, started to tell me, no, there is hope. You're worth it.
Yeah.
You're worth it, so work it, and shit like that. They say words like that, and I think, what the fuck are you talking about? And it works if you work it, and you can only keep what you got by giving it away, and all these double language shit that I had no idea.
Yeah.
It was a different language.
Yeah.
Recovery language is a completely different language. What I heard,
Mm.
the only language I knew was fucking, what do you got, and how can I get it?
Mm.
How can I get off you whatever you've got? How can you give me something to change the way I feel?
Yeah.
Whether it be physical, emotional, spiritual, whatever it was, I had to take from you. And and I really didn't want to give much back. I just wanted to give enough back so that I could get more.
Yeah.
I'd give you enough. I knew whatever you wanted, on the condition that I could take more than what I gave.
Mm.
And today I believe that if I give more than I take, I have a really good life. That's been my experience with recovery. The more I give, the rewards I receive are phenomenal. It's out of control. Like already your 16 months has gone so quickly, and you've come so far. So can you imagine, multiply that by 16 years? Well, how it's fucking, and I'm glad you can't, because you'd use.
Yeah.
Honestly, I remember, I'd wanted to be 5 years clean. Then I got to 5. I wanted to be 10. I want,
Yeah.
I just want to be today.
Yeah.
Today, I just want to be today, because I wouldn't have coped with what I went through. At that stage, you until I got to that stage in my recovery by work and tenacity. And sometimes recovery is tenacity. Sometimes recovery is just fucking hanging on and waiting for it to change.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've gone through periods in recovery where you think, oh, fuck, this is just so painful. I don't know.
Yeah.
And you wake up one morning and it's changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what the fuck was all that about? I've just gone through 7 days or 10 days of crap. I don't even know what was going on anymore. Now I'm okay.
Yeah.
It's called change.
Wow. It's a spin out.
Yeah, it's called change. It's crazy. It's crazy. So what's your plans for the future, young lady?
Well, I definitely don't want to continue where I'm working, but it's just like a stage, But I think I would like to study counselling because I would really like to work in TV and give back in that, I feel really passionate about that stuff, and I feel like I'm quite a protective person. I just feel like I have a deep passion for wanting to I had a DV counsellor, and she was such a beautiful person. I want to do it in her honor, kind of thing.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
You should do that then, if that's what because I'm a funny bug, because I was a career criminal and all that sort of shit, but I've always helped people. I've always worked in recovery, always. 41 years ago when I got clean, the first time, I've always stayed in close contact with recovery and try to help people. And I don't believe I've worked a day in my life because I've always done what I wanted to do. And that's help people. That's what I want to do, and you'd be good at it. And there's no better person that's a person that's walked that walk. I would never have got clean with counsellors and psychiatrists and psychologists that tell me, oh, I know how you feel. No, you don't. If you haven't slept in a homeless place like me, you don't know how I feel. If you haven't walked around all night because you got nowhere to sleep, I've got enough to score or enough to get a room. Guess what? I'm scoring. I'll walk around all night.
Yeah.
Homeless, fucking nothing, freezing cold. But at least I got stoned.
Yeah.
And then I'd wake up the next morning and I'm thinking, not wake up, but walk around the next morning so tired and burned out. Then have to see if I could manipulate somebody to sleep on the floor at their fucking squat. Most of the people I hung out with in the end of my using, they didn't have houses.
Yeah.
I wasn't pretty, I was pretty freaking pretty horrible person because, and if they did have a house, they wouldn't let me come to it because I would have stolen it. I would have stolen everything out of there. I had to get on. I had to change the way I felt. Nothing was barred. There was nothing I wouldn't do to get stoned, you know. And I understand that I wasn't responsible for my disease, but I'm responsible for my recovery. And I don't have a lot of sorrow and regret and remorse for what I did in the past, because that's what I did to survive.
Yeah.
And as a human being, we're always going to survive. That's our natural instinct, is survive. As a female or a male, we use different tools to survive. Yeah, the girls that I go, you know, well, I went to sex work and I went to crime. If I'd have been a female, guess where I would have been?
Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
There's not one second that I moralise or think that I wouldn't be a sex worker. No, I would have been a horrible one, actually. That's bad enough as a guy. So, you know, like, there's no moral issue with addiction. And the sooner we can take that stigma, that's why we do these podcasts, to take the stigma away that people think they're bad people. We're not bad people. We're sick people trying to get well.
Yeah.
We're not bad people trying to get good. You know, and every single day that we're clean, society benefits from it. Our friends benefit from it. Our family benefit from it. But most of all, we benefit from it. Yeah. You know, and we deserve it. You know, I always say, you know, I did my time in hell. You know, I don't have to worry about heaven and earth and, you know, hell and all that shit. You know, people go, oh, you know, because I'm not a religious person, you know, do you believe in hell? I say, yeah, I do. I actually lived in it for about fucking, you know, 20 years. I lived in hell for the first, you know, 27 years of my life. Yeah. Even before I picked up drugs, I was in hell. Because I had an abusive father and, you know, physically, emotionally, spiritually abusive, you know, that used to beat my mother, beat me, beat the kids, beat everybody. And verbally, but, you know, I don't know about you, but I felt verbal abuse was worse than the physical abuse. You know, being humiliated and fucking put down and ashamed and threatened and, you know, like, wow, that was, and not living up to their expectations. Yeah. You know, always falling short of your family's expectations. Disgusting. And, you know, and I try to prove them right that I was hopeless, useless and worthless. Yeah. And the funny part is, you know, I'm the success story out of the whole family. You know, that's the funny part. I was the bum. And I'm the, you know, my children are part of me, and my children are success stories. You know, one of my daughters is a nurse, the other one's a nanny. You know, my other daughter's doing psychology. Like, my kids have grown up really good kids because I got clean. Yeah. You know, none of my family were afraid of me, which is really nice because I was a really angry, violent human being as a young fella. And that's all because I'm clean. Yeah. Everything I've got is because I'm clean. Everything I say I've learnt through people like yourself. Yeah. You know, and the empathy that I have when I hear you share is the gift that I call recovery. Yeah. You know, when I hear you share and I get that little warmth in my heart or that little emotional, like, you know, I just want to squeeze you. That's all the gift. Yeah. And before I wanted to squeeze you, but it had nothing to do with feeling comfortable for you. Yeah. I wanted to squeeze you and maybe search your pocket while I was squeezing you. But yeah, no, darling. I'm so blessed to have you as a friend. I love seeing you. You know, that every time I see you, I get a big smile on my face, like, yeah, okay. And you know, it's like children, they say you can't have a favorite child. No, but you have different feelings for different human beings. You know, and there's a couple of you guys that went through the place that you went through that I was lucky enough to get to know in early stages. Yeah. And I have this real empathy and compassion and connection with you. And it's really nice. Yeah. It doesn't matter how long you've been clean. Yeah. It's irrelevant. You're clean today. You know, whoever got up earliest this morning has been clean the longest today. Yes. You know, and I always say to everybody, and a lot of people don't like it when I say this, there's no big shots. We're all one shot away from being a junkie. If you and I use today, tomorrow, I'm going to be a horrible person. Yeah. Yeah. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. This means I have more information, I have more working skills, but I've been doing it longer. But if I pick up, all bets are off. Yeah. All bets are off, you know, and I don't forget that for 1 second. And I never want to forget my last week of using. I want to remember that last week forever. As I said, it's 36 years and 8 months ago that I come off 120 milidone. It was 36 years and 9 months ago I was sleeping in a brothel while my girlfriend was in there working, and I was sleeping in the broom closet, sleeping on the towels. And every time a new client had come in, they'd take one towel, so my pillow kept on getting smaller. I fucking hated it, and she'd do a trick so that she could get a shot for herself, then a shot for me, then we'd go and get a hotel room. That was love.
Yeah.
That was the best we could do, and I'm still friends with that girl today.
Yeah, that's cool.
40 years later, or 36 years later, we're still mates. And we used 38 years ago. I met her on the street, and I manipulated her and said to her, if you get clean, we'll keep going with it. And I had no intention to beat, but I just trying to help her. If you dry out too, and we'll keep the relationship going. So she went and come off 120 milidone. And I'm like, I'm too early in recovery to get a relationship. And she went back out, She was out there for about 15 years, God love her. Poor darling, but she's clean. She contacts me now and says, I watched the podcast. I love it. I'm so proud of you. And she's a mum. She's got kids herself, and she's clean. Whatever clean she is, I don't know. It's none of my business. Not my concern. She's alive. I was just really happy that she's alive, and I'm really happy that we both survived, because we both end up on the street, hopeless, helpless, and fucking useless. Living in squats and getting a shot each day just to survive. But no, I'm really, really, really proud and excited to have you come on the podcast, Alan. And I really hope that people listen to this and they understand that we can get clean. We do recover. There is a way out, and it doesn't matter if you're a beautiful young lady or a young guy or an old lady or an old guy or whatever it is. It's never too late.
Yeah.
It's never too late, and it's never too. How old are you now, Hol?
I'm 25.
25. So, you know what I mean? Like, that's, people go, oh, that's young. It's not young for an addict. It's not young for an addict.
Yeah.
I've just finished treating 2 young guys that were 17 and a half each.
Yeah.
And they were fucked.
Yeah.
At 17 and a half on that new ice shit, they were burnt out. They'd run the course. In 2 years, they were burnt out. From 15 to 17 and a half, they were fucked. And I mean, there wasn't much they hadn't done.
Yeah.
They'd run that course, that new drug. Whew, I'm lucky it wasn't around when I was using. But I'm really proud of you, darling. And is there anything you'd like to say before we close this, doll?
No, good. Thanks for having me. It's been good.
No, it's been wonderful. I really appreciate you coming and thank you for showing your courage and your honesty.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll see each other very soon.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Love you, darling.
All right, love you too. Thank you
Bye.
so much.
I solemnly swear that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.